So I'd like to welcome you to today's Lunch and Learn for our YearbookFusion Online program. My name is Sarah and I will be hosting today's session. During the session, if you have any questions, please enter them in the GoToMeeting chat window. I will do my best to answer all your questions before the end of today's Lunch and Learn. This tutorial will be available on the YearbookFusion Online Help and Support portal by the end of the week. So let's get started. To access the YearbookFusion Online program, you can use any of the mostly supported browsers such as Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, and Safari by going to the website https://books.lumapix.com. Once the site has loaded, you will be prompted to sign in with your user ID. And then the default will say manager, but if you've already set up team members, you can click the drop down and select a team member and enter the corresponding password. By default, you will be on the book tab when it loads. This is the home screen and will show you the book ladder and your book as it comes together. Up at the top here we have several tabs. The next one is our Photos tab. Here you can come to manage your Dropbox folder, and the Dropbox folder is where you can upload images. You click on the folder and you come in and you can either upload images right away by going to Add Images and browsing for photos on your computer. And you can do one at a time, or you can use Shift or Control to select multiple images and hit Open. And as you can see, they will begin to upload. And once they're done, you will see a thumbnail of the photo. You can also create a folder system in here for storing of the photos. To create a folder, you would right-click and go to New Directory. Right away, you can give the new folder a name. And then each folder has its own URL. So right now, the main Dropbox URL is displayed above. If we go into the sports folder, we will see a different URL. These URLs can be copied and then put into, say, an email and sent to people that are not part of the yearbook committee. So if you have parents who attended some kind of school activity and told you they have wonderful shots and you would like them, you can send the URL to them and then they'll be able to upload photos. They won't be able to see the yearbook or download the photos. It's strictly for uploading. Next is our Portraits tab. We'll come back and take a closer look at this in a bit, but this is where we import the PSPA file. Team tab. This is where you can go to create additional logins for team members working on the yearbook. To create a team member, you just click the Add Team Member button. Create a user ID. I usually recommend first initial last name format, but ultimately you can create whichever you prefer. Enter a password, first name and last name. The email field is optional. If you leave it blank, then at the bottom here you would need to change the send confirmation email to no. The send confirmation email, if it's left as yes and you enter an email address, they'll receive an email with the website to the program and their user ID and password. The next option is role. The default is editor, but we do have 4 different roles to choose from. You can click the what role should I choose to see the different security levels. Co-manager is pretty much all-inclusive. It's very equal to the main user ID. Advisor can do everything except access the team tab. They can't manage users. Senior editor can edit any page. They cannot move the pages around. They cannot approve and reject pages or manage users. Editor is the most popular one when students are involved in creating the yearbook, because the editor can only work on pages it's been assigned to. So it's a way of controlling what pages the users have access to. So you can click OK, pick the role of your choosing, and then hit Save Changes. And if you need more than one, again, you would just click the Add Team Member and go through the same steps. Next is our admin tab. Right now there's not much to look at because we're just beginning, but here's where you can come and change the book size. So my default setting is for an 8.5 by 11. Every publisher offers different options, so this is where you can come to the product field and see the options that the publisher offers. You pick the one that was agreed upon and hit save. If you've already decided you do not want page numbering on your yearbook pages, you can come here and turn it off. Page numbering by default is on. So you can click on edit and you can enable page numbering on output, remove that check mark to turn it off. Or if you're leaving it on and you just want to format it, this is where you can change how it's going to look. So here's a little sample in the corner. You can change the font type, the size, the coloring, and the position. Once you've made any changes that you require, you can click the Save Settings. The page overview on the left is currently blank, but as we begin to build the book, a pie chart will appear and it can possibly have 4 different sections which are identified here below and their colors. This is also where you'll submit the book and cover when it's complete, but we'll come and take a look at that in a little bit. So we'll go back to the book tab, and now we'll actually take a look at creating your pages. So to create pages, you go to Add Pages. First option is blank. This is where you can start a page from scratch. So the New Sections window opens, you give the page a name, and you can decide how many pages need to be dedicated to that particular topic. And by default, they will be single pages, but if you need it to be a double page spread, you would put check mark in the double pages. You can create multiple new pages at one time, like so. Then you go ahead and click Create. Another way of adding pages is our templates. We have many pre-designed templates to choose from, so you go to Add Pages, Templates. We have 3 different categories: Basic, Complete Yearbook, and Themed Pages. Basic is then divided into multiple categories, and as you can see, they're just kind of a skeleton. There's no color, it's just a basic layout of here's some empty image frames and some text frames to give you a starting point, and then you can decorate it from there. Complete yearbooks, we have many categories to choose from, and they're just pre-designed and decorated pages that have been grouped together based on themes. So you can just come here, take a look, go into the different categories, and as you can see, they're all decorated very similarly, and the fonts are similar and so on. And once you find a page that you like, you simply hover over it and click the Add to Book button. And as you can see on the right hand side here, it's been added to our book ladder. I'm just backing out to our themed pages. So themed pages again are pre-decorated, but we've divided them into their own categories. So there's some that are specific to the holidays, school, we have a yearbook specific category. So it's handy to come in here and take a look and see if any of them will work for you. The next option of pages is your portrait pages. So that's how you're going to create the pages with the PSPA images, but we'll take a look at that soon. And then the My Sections folder. My Sections is where all the pages are going to get stored, and they can be removed from the ladder. So if you remove one from the ladder, it's still going to remain in the My Sections, so you can come back and click Add to Book if necessary. Or if you used the program last year, there's a school year filter, and you can pick the previous year, and there's all the pages from last year, and you can just hit the Add to Book, and it will be thrown into the book. So when you're ready to modify pages, you would hover your mouse over the page, and you can see this menu. This is our page menu. The first icon is Edit this section. Then we have Create a copy of this section, View Preview, assign this page for editing, remove this section from the book, submit this page to be reviewed. Assign this page for editing is where you can assign it to team members, which is crucial for any team members that you've made an editor. So you click on the little button, there's your list of users, you can click beside their user ID and hit save. Now that user will be able to work on that page. And you can tell it's been assigned to somebody because the little silhouette has a number beside it, and when you hover over it, it lists the user. The create a copy of this section will do just that. It just duplicates the page. So if you spent some time working on a layout that you want to use a little farther down in the book, you can copy that page. Remove this section from the book does, as I mentioned, it will delete this page from here, but you can always go and retrieve it from the My Sections folder. View preview is just a closer up preview of the page. Let's take a look at the edit this section. So this is where you'll actually open up the page and begin to work on it. First, we're taking a look at a template that I made part of our yearbook. The templates are not locked down. They're just a starting point. So just because there's one image frame on here doesn't mean that's all there needs to be. As you can see, I can click and drag and move it around, and if I wanted to, I could shrink it. Oops. So that there's room for a new one to be added. And the text is also able to be changed just by double clicking on it. A closer look at the page is you can see this pale gray outline going around the perimeter of the page. So this nice clear area right up to the edge of the gray is our safe zone. So there's actually a very thin green line right before the gray, and that indicates safe. So you want to keep all important content within the safe zone. Between the green line all the way to the edge of the pale gray is bleed. So that's an allowance that printers have allowed for cutting and printing purposes. So make sure nothing important goes into the shadow there or even off the page. If it goes off the page into this dark gray area, it will not be part of the book. As you can see, we have a menu on our left. We'll take a look at that. The first button is change language. We have a few you can choose from. Then we have zoom in and zoom out. And if you zoom in or out too much, you can always select reset zoom. Then we have a save button. The program does automatically save on a regular basis, but if you've just done something extremely detailed that you are concerned about losing and don't want to redo the work, go ahead and force a save by clicking the save button. We have undo and redo. And new this year is copy, cut, and paste. So those are just like any other program. You just select the item, hit copy, and then hit paste. And there's a duplicate. Or the cut removes it, and then paste. Then we have our add frame button, so that's where you can add an empty image frame, and add text, and that's where you can add a text frame. So we'll leave this one and go into a blank page to take a look at some of our other editing options. So as you can see, you can move fairly smoothly in and out of the different pages, and it does take a moment to close them and open them because it is communicating with our online storage. So in the upper right-hand corner, we have three buttons: Facebook Photos, Photos, Save and Close. Save and Close is what you use to leave the page and save your changes. Photos is where you can come to access not the Dropbox folder where your images are, and you can also add images from here. So you can come to add images, select, and once you're in a folder that contains an item, you'll see the items reflect in the images toolbar up at the top. So to use an image, you can simply click and drag it onto the page. When you click the Photos button, you can also back out of the Dropbox and you'll see our LumaPix clip art folder. This is where you can come to find papers and other decorative elements, such as headers and themes. So the papers are our background, so you just go in and find one that suits. Once you're in a folder that contains some papers, you'll see them load across the top. Now, to make a paper apply itself as a paper, you do not drag it onto the page. Find one that you like and then drag it down to the side, and that tells the program to apply it and stretch it out as a background. As for the other clip art elements, such as headers and items in the theme folder, those you would drag on directly onto the page. So that it's applied as an element. So when we're on either a text frame or an image frame, you see on the right-hand side that we have another menu. The first button is Move to Top. This is handy if you have elements overlapping. So as of right now, you can see when I overlap these to the image and the clip art, the apple is currently on top over the image. So I can select the image and hit Move to Top, and it tucks the apple in behind. Move Under will do the opposite. And if there's more than one layer, because you have several things overlapping, you can use the Move Above or Move Under as well to help. Then we have our Rotate Image. So what this will do, I'm just going to move the apple. The Rotate Image keeps the frame where it is, but rotates clockwise the image within the frame. Horizontal Flip just does exactly that. It flips it from left to right. And vertical Flip flips it from top to bottom. If you decide you want to keep the frame there but you don't like the image, you can click the Remove Image button and it will just leave the empty frame. Or you can click Remove Frame to delete the frame. So I'm just going to undo a couple steps so that my image is back. The last button is our Edit Frame Properties. As you can see, there's a little pencil icon, and there is also one on the image. You can click either of those to open our Properties menu. When you're on an image frame, the first tab here will be Image. If you wish to adjust the look of the image itself, you can use these sliders here. So the red, green, and blue slider will taint the image, and the opacity kind of fades it out. If you make changes with these sliders that you decide you don't like, the buttons going down the right-hand side are Reset this value to default. So you can just click on them and it puts it back to the original state. So same with these image effects here. You can turn to black and white, adjust the sepia, the brightness, and the contrast. Or instead of having an image, you could fill it with a color as well. On the Frame tab, this is where you can apply changes to the frame itself. So there's two ways to resize the frame. One is when you're on the frame, you can see these blue handles. You can change the shape and size by clicking and dragging those. Or you can use the width and height sliders on the Frame tab. The rotation you can use, or you can use the blue swirl handle on the actual image itself. On the image, you also have another set of handles that are yellow. These are your zooming and cropping. So to zoom out, you just drag out. To zoom in, you drag in. The sun in the middle is so that once you've zoomed, you can reposition the image within the frame, like so. On our properties, the next section is border. The default setting is a thin white border, so you can either turn that off by removing the check mark, You can use the slider to increase or decrease the thickness of the border. So, color is where you can change the color of it. You can just use the color chip here and pick, or if you have a specific color you're trying to achieve and you know the RGBs, you can enter it there. The default shape is square, but we do have a few other options for you to choose from, such as rounded corners, angled, we can make it oval, circle, and diamond. When you're on either rounded or angled, the corner size is available, and that's just to make the corners more substantial. Next is our shadow settings. A default is a small black shadow. Again, you can turn that off, or you can change the color, or you can adjust the angle or the offset for some interesting effects. So next we'll take a look at text. So to add text, you just come to the menu on the left-hand side and hit your Add Text button. If it's not where you want it, you just click and drag it. And as you can see, it has the blue handles as well for resizing and for rotating if you wish. To actually type, you just double click, and on the text tab, enter the words that you wish. The default settings for the formatting of the text is black font coloring with black shadow turned on and an Arial font type. You can change any of these with the drop-down menus, so Arial you can change. There is a good list of fonts here. This cannot be added to, so the list of fonts here is what you have. Left is your alignment field, so it keeps the frame stationary and just moves the words and lettering within the frame. Then your color chip to change colors. And then the shadow. So the button that actually says shadow is how you can turn it off, or you can leave it turned on and use the small color chip to change the color of the shadow. Font size is how you can decrease or increase the font size. When this field here says resize to fit, what that means is the font size will change based on the shape of the frame. So if I grab the handles, you'll see the font size is shrinking because I'm making the frame smaller or larger. On the frame tab is again where you can adjust the shadow or modify the width, height, and rotation of the overall frame. As I've been adjusting settings on the text frames or image frames and I move them around, you'll see some black dotted lines appear. These are called snap lines. These are to help with lining up items. So as you bring an item close to another one, you'll see they appear and can help you line it up. So once it appears, you can release your mouse and that's the frame snapping to the same position of the other frame. The final button in our editor area is our Facebook photos. You click on that. You apparently get a warning saying your connection is not private. And then you will get a Facebook sign-in screen. You enter your Facebook user ID and password, and then you'll have access to your Facebook folder of images. It doesn't fully access Facebook, so you can't browse your wall or anything like that. It just accesses the folders of images that are part of that account. So if the school has a Facebook account, you can sign in with that information. So I'll save and close. So next we'll take a look at our Portraits tab. The Portraits tab is where you come to import your PSPA. So we start by clicking on the blue Import Portraits button. I have a PSPA index on a CD or a local computer and hit Next. Then you click the Upload PSPA index and your file browser will open. You then locate on your computer the index file that is part of the PSPA you've been given. Select the index and hit Open, and you'll be given a chance to review the information. These headers can be changed. So if the header does not match the data, you can click the drop-down arrow and correct the header. And you can scroll down to take a look. So this one's salutation, not period, and then title. So you can change any that need to be. Once you're happy with everything, you can go ahead and hit Next. And then this is where you add the photos. You have two options for adding the photos. Option 1 is using this Add Photos button. Selecting the folder that contains the photos, and then click on the first photo, hold your Shift key, click on the last, and hit Open. If you have a PSPA that contains multiple folders with images in it, then you're going to have to go and do that numerous times. My PSPA has multiple folders, so rather than go in and out, what you can do is open a file browser on your computer like so, and then select all the folders you need, click and drag them into the portrait area. And it automatically will place all the images there. Once all your images have been selected, you can click the Start Upload button. Now this process, as you can see, everybody's changing from a little red dot to a blue arrow while it's uploading, and then to a green check mark with their name. This process will take a bit because it is sending a copy of all the not just the images, but the data as well up to our servers. So I have 74 records, and as you can see, it's progressing quite smoothly, but typically schools have a few hundred. So you can leave this uploading while you do some other work, or if you're able, go grab a coffee, take a little break. When you come back, if it's still loading, you can scroll down to see how the progress is going. And then when it's done, we'll see the screen change, letting us know that it's done. So we'll just give it a moment here to finish the import process. And as you can see at the bottom here, there is a stop upload, so if you decided you need to start from scratch or anything like that, you can click stop. Once it's done, it says upload 74 out of 74 files, and up at the top it says upload finish. Your upload is complete. Click here to view your portraits. So you click on the word here, and you're still on the Portraits tab. It's just now changed to show you the data that you just uploaded. So you can click on any of the records, and you'll see the photo that corresponds. So now that we've uploaded the PSPA, we'll go back to our Book tab and go to Add Pages Portrait to actually add a page. You're first prompted to name the section. So this can be anything you want really, but I encourage people to make it something that coincides with what the page is going to be. So if it's a middle school or high school, and you're going to be doing the portrait pages by grade, then you could call it grade 7, grade 8 portraits. In elementary schools, you typically do the portrait pages by teacher, so I would recommend doing it by the name of the teacher, like so. Then you hit Next, and you choose your portrait selection. So this is where using a piece of the portrait data, you're going to indicate what photos you are wanting to look at. So again, if you're going by grade, you can pick the grade, or if you're going by teacher, you can click the specific teacher. It will calculate the number of pictures. So it tells me I have 18. Label options. The default is for first name and then last name. If you don't like that order, you want the last name first, you can remove them by clicking the X's and then click in there and you have your list and do that. But the reason why we've made the default first name, last name is typically that's how most yearbooks do it. So then you can hit next. And then our sorting options. The default sorting options are priority, last name, first name. Priority is what controls who's at the top of the page. So typically teachers are a 3 and students are a 5, meaning that teachers will be placed a higher priority and closer to the top of the page, like in the example. If you want to change those, you can click the drop-down arrow and change it to the piece of information that you need. Our grid options are the layouts. So you can choose the number of columns and rows that are listed from the available options. So if you have a small class, we have some smaller grids so that will make the images larger. But 5x5 and 6x6 tend to be very popular for the average school. And then the features here allows you to make the first few images larger. So in our example to the right here, we see that the teacher is enlarged. So to do that, we would enter a number 1 to make a featured image. And as you're adjusting these settings, you'll see calculations are being done at the bottom. So we have 18 portraits. The settings we've chosen right now makes one page, which allows 21 portraits. If I went and picked a smaller grid, you'll see it changes, still saying we're working with the same 18, but we've now created 3 pages with 9 per page, and there's only 3 images on the last page. So you can decide, oh, that page is more than half empty. I don't like that layout. So you pick one and then hit Create Portrait Section. When it's created, it automatically loads into the editor mode so that you can continue working on it. When making changes to the portrait images and the labels, the names, they are all linked. So you open the properties. You do not type spelling corrections in here. You do not change the label data, because if I changed it, it would give the same name to all the records. So here is just where you change the font type and the alignment and the coloring and whether you want a shadow or not. Okay. You can click one of the images and open that frame properties. And on the frame tab, this is where you can adjust the border. So right now the default's a thin white border. You can change it, you can turn it off, or you can leave it turned on and make them oval with no border. To change the header, you can click on it and go to your properties. And go to the text tab and change what is displayed at the top of the page. And also change the font and all the formatting. We have our portrait settings button that we can click on, and as you can see, it shows here the selection, so whose class we picked, our sorting options, and our labels. So this is a quick way of changing any of that information if you need to. So if we don't want it to be germane, we accidentally pick that, you can come here and pick one of the other teachers or grades. And then you would hit Apply Changes. In the upper left corner, you can also change the layout. So if you've decided you didn't like the 5x5, you can come here and pick it. Or if you want to turn the features off, you can hit 0, allow it to think for a moment, and it's removed the featured image. Right now it says here status up to date, so that means it's the page matches the data on the Portraits tab. So as of right now, we are happy with this page, so we'll hit Save and Close. But it never fails. We always learn about spelling mistakes or somebody who's missed and needs to get added to the class. You do not do that on the page. If you need to make spelling corrections or add somebody, you do it on the Portraits tab. So we go to our Portraits tab, and let's say we have a spelling mistake in one of the students in Mr. Germain's class. So you can come to the teacher field, and you'll see there's all these search fields at the bottom. So I can type Germain in the teacher field, and it will filter out everybody who has that piece of data. Then I can find the person who has a spelling mistake and make the correction. And there's two ways to do that. If it's a single piece of data, you can double click on it and type the correction and then hit apply. If you have multiple pieces to change, you can put a check mark in their selected box and come up to edit and make the correction. Or say their teacher changed, you can select them all by hitting the selection box beside grade, hitting edit, and if there's a single piece of information that's changed for the entire class, you can make it here. If a person's missed, you can, and needs to be added in, you can come here and click the new button, upload photo, find the photo of the missing person, and fill out their information. And then hit create, and that person will be added into the group of pictures. If you have a secondary PSPA you need to import, so a group of people, you can do that by hitting the import button, and it will walk you through importing the next PSPA. Once you've made changes on the Portraits tab, you will go back to the Book tab, and after a moment you'll see a yellow warning sign appear above the top of the portrait page. That warning is indicating the page is out of sync, which means the page no longer matches the data on the Portraits tab. To fix, you open the page in editor mode, and up at the top, instead of saying that the status is good, it now says status is out of sync. So as of right now, Miss Sarah Jones is nowhere on this page. We hit the little refresh icon, and as you can see, she's been added to the page. And you can use backgrounds on your portrait pages the same way we did on our Candid page. So once your book is coming together and you either want to review the status of it or submit it, you can come to the Admin tab, and you'll see we now have a pie chart under our page overview, and we now have a Create Proof option. So creating proof you only do when you're submitting your yearbook. If you want to print it to review, that's not when you do that. Schools will need to reach out to their publishers if they require a PDF for reviewing purposes. As you can see right now, our page overview pie chart only has two statuses, not started and in progress. But we do have two others, submitted for review and approved. So on our book tab, we have this submit this page to be reviewed. So this is pretty handy when you have a team of people working on the yearbook. So I'm a student, I've done my page, and I feel it's done. I can click submit page for review so that the main coordinator, which is usually a teacher, sometimes a volunteer parent, will now know that me, the student, feels that that page is ready. The coordinator can then review the page and decide whether it's done or not, and as you can see, they can mark this page as rejected, which will make it editable again, or they can mark this page as approved, and lower users with the role of editor will not be able to make any more changes to it. And you'll see on our admin tab that the pie chart has been updated with that status. And then if your book is done, you hit create proof. Everything is good here. If it's unhappy about anything, it'll be red with an X and identifying what it is unhappy about. and then hit Create New Proof. And it is submitting it. And this process, depending on the size of the book, like this one's only a few pages, so it wouldn't take long at all. A full-size book will take a while. And it will say your preview is being generated and will appear here shortly. You can hit refresh. It will take a bit, but eventually it will show a thumbnail of your book, and it will also notify your publisher that the book has been submitted. So that is how you create a yearbook in YearbookFusion Online, and I'd like to thank you all for attending.